Over the past 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, thousands of people gathered in this sanctuary to mourn the indescribable loss of two remarkable women, Julia Hyman and Wesley LePatner. And in other corners of our beloved city this week, thousands gathered to mourn the murders of NYPD officer Diderul Islam and security officer Alain Etienne. Four beautiful and bright souls extinguished by a gunman just blocks from here 5 days ago. And our hearts are with their families, the parents who buried their children, their brothers and their sisters, the children who lost their parents, the family and friends who now feel a gaping hole in their lives, a chasm where their loved ones used to be. On Wednesday morning, I officiated at Julia's funeral, and it was so clear to me and to everyone who Julia touched in life that she loved deeply and lived life to the fullest. Story after story told of the investment she made in her family and friends and the extraordinary level of sensitivity and connection she had with those in her life. We were all in clear agreement that everywhere she went, Julia made a definitive and powerful positive difference. And there was also clarity that we should not have been there. We should not have been at a funeral for this remarkable and beloved 27-year-old woman gunned down as her life was continuing to unfold in the most wonderful of ways. And we had distinct clarity as well that Wesley and Diderul and Alain should be alive and well today, enjoying summer with their family and friends who love them so deeply. We should not be reeling from the trauma and the fallout of Monday's horrific, deadly attack by a person with a weapon of war, an AR-15 assault rifle with a high-capacity magazine at a Midtown office building only a 6-minute walk away. We should not be living in fear of the next attack, wondering if we should send our children to school in the fall or attend that concert that looks like so much fun. We are all in agreement. It is crystal clear. None of this should have happened. And yet here we are, once again. Families, friends, a city in mourning, a city in the grips of wrestling with another senseless act of gun violence. I must admit to you, though, that until now, even though I have been deeply troubled by the frequency of mass shootings and gun violence in our city and nation, I have done precious little regarding this concern. I've allowed myself to be caught up with the busyness of my life and focused on other important causes of our day, letting this issue fall to the side. Well, I am done with that. I can no longer stand idly by and accept this violence as inevitable. And I know, because her parents told me and gave me permission to tell you tonight, that if Julia was still alive today, she would have been furious about this tragedy and would have thrown herself into finding ways to take action. We are suffering, and we are at risk of suffering time and time again if we do not find a way to do something about this. This issue is now our issue. The statistics related to gun violence in the United States are staggering. In 2023, the most recent year for which complete data is available from the Center for Disease Control, 46,728 people died from gun-related injuries. This figure includes gun murders and gun suicides. Gun violence, including mass shootings, have reached epidemic levels, impacting people from every single walk of life in almost every community in our nation, including, we know all too well, the Jewish community. Compared to people in other developed countries, Americans are now 25 more times likely to be killed by guns and 8 times more likely to kill themselves with a gun. Here in New York City, from January to May of 2025, there were 264 shootings, with the city recording in May alone 18 murders. And with regard to mass shootings, a shooting defined by at least 4 people dying. In the 8 years between 2015 and 2022, over 19,000 people were shot and killed or wounded in the United States. And we know the reach of each mass shooting stretches far beyond those killed and wounded, harming the well-being of survivors, their families, and entire communities. I know I have felt personally helpless at times in regard to my ability to contribute to a solution to this epidemic. And from the early days of my Jewish education, I was taught a verse from Pirkei Avot that states, quote, "It is not your duty to finish the work, but neither are you at liberty to neglect it," unquote. This ancient charge from our sages reminds me, and I hope all of us, to commit ourselves to being a part of a solution, and perhaps especially part of a solution for the most difficult of problems. My conversations with national leaders of the movement to reduce gun violence during this past week have been sobering. The good news is that solutions, in fact, many, many solutions abound. But practically, it will take all of us and many more around our nation working in various and committed ways to achieve progress. And our efforts will not be needed for months, but for years. Inspired by Jewish tradition and by the legacy of the thousands of beautiful lives lost to gun violence, I say, let's get to work. Here are just a few ways we can take action. It is time for those who represent us in the United States Congress, our representatives and senators, to restore a national ban on assault weapons. Currently, 2 bills with this goal are alive in Congress. A national ban is essential because without one, weapons like the one that was used to murder Julia, Wesley, Alan, and Dieter Rule can be sold in a state like Nevada with looser gun laws and transported to another state with stricter laws, such as New York. Multiple polls year after year show a majority of Americans in support of banning assault weapons, and we need to do a significantly better job of letting our elected officials know this is our priority. They need to hear from us. I'm talking about everyone sitting here in the pews, and all of us, the thousands of people streaming online from around the country each month, demanding a ban on assault weapons. And we must ask our friends, we must take time to speak to our friends across the United States to join us in communicating this to Congress. It's not our duty to completely solve the gun violence crisis, but neither are we at liberty to neglect it. In addition to lobbying our elected officials regularly on this issue, we can join in the efforts of groups such as Everytown for Gun Safety, Giffords, and the Brady Campaign, each in their own right, first-class nonprofits who are educating Americans and keeping citizens like us up to date on how we can take action to increase gun safety and reduce gun violence. Let us support these crucial organizations with our money and our time, selecting one initiative or two or 3 that they're working on to pour our effort into with the goal of helping to save each other's lives. I do find comfort in knowing how many of us do care about this. We are not alone. In fact, this Monday night, we'll join with other Midtown houses of worship to pray and grieve and call for action together. This service will be at 6 p.m. at St. Bart's, a few minutes from here. And details of this are in your order of service. As you heard tonight, we began reading the 5th book of the Torah, a book highlighted with speeches by Moses to every single Israelite. The Torah specifically says his messages are for women, men, children, the elderly, literally everyone. And at the conclusion of this final book, Moses gives his closing argument. Quote, "Surely the instruction is not too baffling or beyond your reach. It is not in the heavens or beyond the sea. It is within your very grasp. It is in your mouth and in your heart." Moses continues, "I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. I have put before you life and death, blessing and curse." And then Moses implores them, "Choose life, so you and your offspring shall live and thrive." Unquote. And here we are, modern day Israelites, every single one of us living with both the deadly curse of gun violence among us alongside blessed solutions that can actually help us protect each other and our children. We too, all of us living in this so-called modern age, can heed Moses' call to choose life and act and engage in efforts that over time will better protect us and our offspring. We know this road will be arduous and the fight hard, and that it will take years. And for the sake of our very lives and our society, this is a cause and mission we must embrace. Shabbat Shalom.